Welcome. Today's topic is to find value in process automation. And previously we've done a dissection of how process transformation can save money, but this process is really around process automation specifically. So let's move right in. Summation specializes in achieving improved process execution by improving people and by improving processes. When it comes to people, it's all about how they sell, how they manage the business, and most importantly, how they manage other people. When we're talking about process, then the topic should be how we optimize and re-engineer process, how we automate and adopt a culture of continuous improvement. And today's topic is about the latter, about finding the value of process automation, the value to the business, and importantly, the value to the people. Now, we've already talked about the specific financial benefits of process optimization in the prior presentation that I just mentioned. Now, for the sake of today's discussion, when I talk about process automation, I'll be talking specifically about the benefits of a tool that Summation have chosen to use, which is called Solvexia. Solvexia offers a new approach that helps businesses increase control and efficiency while reducing costs. And they do this by providing a hosted platform for automating back-office processes that clients control using their browser. So let's leap right into the topic, the value of saving time. A review of process metrics indicates to us that automation of a process using the Solvexia solution can reduce the time taken to perform a process by 50 to 98%, with most reducing by 90% where the process is larger and more complex. And if I was to look at experiences just over the last month, I could give you a couple of examples. We had a project where we automated general ledger reconciliation. Previously, it was taking the client 45 minutes per account per category to do the reconciliation, and we reduced it to 28 seconds per account per category. We did a project for a client that was a preparation of expenditure analysis. Now, that preparation was being done manually, supported with some macros and spreadsheets, but it was taking a week, and we were able to reduce it down to 3.5 minutes. Now, that's quite significant. So let's talk through an example of how this translates into cost savings for you. So what we're going to do is, let's look at a process that takes 1 day a week for an individual to do manually. Each day they work through the process from start to end. In reality, we often find that people are working through a number of processes each day, and they may take several days to run. That person has a loaded cost to the organisation of $120,000. So let's say $80,000 base salary plus overheads. And yes, I understand that often the loaded cost is 2 or 3 times the base salary, but let's keep the example conservative. Now, it's reasonable to expect that we can automate that process and cut the time to execution to an hour, if you think of my prior examples. And this equates to a savings of just under a day a week, or approximately 19% of the person's time. Now, when we spread that out and we were to do 5 processes that are similar, already we've accounted for a whole person. So we've accounted for $120,000 in savings. And this could be realised through a number of ways. So for example, we could not increase headcount and not incur the incremental costs when we take on more business. We could reallocate the time saved to other revenue generating or cost saving initiatives. Or we could use the opportunity to reduce vendor or contract labour costs. Reduction in human errors. Computers are better at some things than people. Repetitive tasks, large amounts of data, complex calculations, applying a fixed set of rules to things, or any combination of the above. People performing repetitive tasks or any of those things I just mentioned make mistakes. Some of these are obvious, others go undetected. The cost of errors can be very high, especially when they're identified late in the process. And we use the standard 1-10-100 formula as a good rule of thumb. For each dollar it costs to run a process, it takes $10 to correct an error in process and $100 to correct an error out of process. Now, it's easy for Solvexia process designers to build detailed checks into their processes to stop errors from occurring in the first place, or to identify errors early in the process if they do occur, and this obviously minimises that cost. In real terms, you should expect to be able to eliminate process-related errors if the process is correctly designed and implemented using the Solvexia platform. Reduction in key person dependency. When one or two people hold the organisational knowledge for critical business systems, this creates a dramatic risk to the organisation. And it's a risk that is often unrealised and uncosted until there's a problem. Now, Summation have seen some expensive examples of organisations recovering from process failure from that loss of contextual organisational knowledge. When someone who is needed leaves. And it's never more obvious when it's with mission critical processes and that deals with compliance or it deals with audit, for example. Now, the most obvious way to mitigate this, rather large risk, is to train additional people and expose them to the process and the nuances of the process. And that last part is the expensive bit, the variations, the exceptions, the nuances of running the process, the things that people don't learn until a combination of events happen and things go wrong. And that means risk, and risk means cost. So what do we know? Well, we know based on local and US research that statistically people change roles every 3 to 5 years. We know on average it takes an employee 2 weeks to be trained and become independently proficient at a process. Now, proficient doesn't mean to deal with every eventuality, remember the nuances. We know people are involved in 5 or more processes. We know if they move to a new role, they'll require training in each of the new processes, and someone replacing them is going to require training in each of those 5 processes. And all of this adds up, you can see, to a substantial hidden cost in lost work, in retraining, in organisational impact. Solvexia exposes the process, so training is radically reduced. Documentation allows an organisation to remove key person dependence by exposing what is happening and why. The automation and documentation of a process can reduce retraining by 82% or more. Better compliance and documentation. What is the cost of searching for and finding information to satisfy compliance or audit requests? What is the cost when you cannot determine what happened 3 months ago for the documents you had submitted to the government body, to the tax department, to the government, whoever? What is the benefit of being able to analyse what's happening on the business over time and proactively remove costs or reuse processes to tune the business? Solvexia supports a run model that locks and encodes a process, creating a snapshot in time. Not only a snapshot of the data, but the process and everything around it. And it lets you do a whole range of analysis of that. Each of the prior items I've talked to can really be aggregated into a specific financial cost and benefit. And Summation has a structure for doing that. But let's talk about some of the secondary benefits that can still be costs, but we consider more qualitative. For example, our clients regularly report increased staff satisfaction amongst their people when they've switched them from performing processes manually and repetitively to using Solvexia. On another note, process automation with accompanying documentation can support or help start a culture of continuous improvement. As processes within Solvexia are readily understood by those who have access to them, they benefit from input not only from the process designer, but from supervisors, from auditors, and from managers. And this contributes to continuous improvement in processes, ensuring that productivity and quality keep improving without major redevelopment and investment from the business. It creates a standard language and taxonomy around organisational process. This can increase the rate of change and the ability of the organisation to adopt and execute change. So sort of in summary, an exposed process that is documented, that is clear, leads to a more agile and responsive organisation that can react to change more efficiently and more effectively. If you're interested in more information on Solvexia, you can find them at www.solvexia.com and you'll find a heap of information there. Thank you very much for listening. We are Summation. There's more information on us at summation.com.au.